of cash. Do you think that also has played a factor in this policy of the CBN?
Okay, let me try to clarify some things here. The thing is that the CBN is still pursuing the cashless policy.
Okay.
And the essence of the cashless policy is to encourage Nigerians and everybody that will be transacting on the Naira to use electronic means, other platforms, channels, and terminals to execute their transactions instead of physical cash. That is the essence. And in doing this, the CBN cannot at the same time flood the system with cash. So it will be countering the objective of that policy. So what the CBN does is to release what they think is adequate for the system, what they think is good for the cashless policy objectives to be achieved both in the short, medium, and long term. They will release that quantity of cash. Then the commercial banks or the other financial institutions that will receive this cash will utilize that quantity they have in their ATMs and over the counter. And also encourage their customers to use other terminals, other platforms electronically to do their transactions.
Okay.
And that is the way to go as long as the CBN is concerned.
Okay.
So there is nothing like accusation here. The CBN has this position, and the commercial banks, deposit money banks, have their own position. The deposit money banks cannot print Naira notes. They cannot manufacture Naira notes to give to customers. So the way they get their own cash is the little that can get from the central bank and the ones that the customers will deposit to the bank branches. So when the banks combine these two, they will service the ATMs, they will also pay to other customers. And when the cash is finished, it's finished. There is nothing they can do. Then, coming back to the alleged scarcity in the system, we know that there are abuses. And in every 12, there must be one Judas. It is believed so. So what the CBN is saying is that some of the Naira notes, for instance, the names, they keep wondering how the names get to the informal system.
Okay.
When you go to certain events, you see some people selling it. So why the commodification of the Naira notes? That is a concern of the Central Bank of Nigeria. And they are thinking that the only way this could happen is through the banks. So, and that is why they are warning. And that is why they are raising penalties that if any bank is caught aiding or abetting this illegality, that such bank will be penalized. In the first instance, 150 million.
Okay.
And if it continues, it may lead to the termination of the license of the bank.
Okay, we've got a commercial, but when I do come back, I'll ask you, because you just took the question out of my mouth. If you say the banks are not receiving as much as they should, that the CBN is only sending what they feel is necessary to be in circulation, then how are the banks funding weddings and parties and all of these functions with mints, with new cash, with very new cash? But when we come back, we'll go for a quick commercial. Please do stay with us. Stay on the line, please. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
4:31 p.m. You're listening to Hard Facts in 92.3 Nigeria Info. I am Kala Dakurubatbo. And someone did send a message. He said, please, what is the new CBN policy on POS operators? So it does withdraw limits daily, weekly, and also gives a cap for POS operators in terms of transactions they can do on a daily basis. 100,000 naira for a customer a day. That's how much you can withdraw via POS. And then 500,000 a week. And then 1.2 million cap transaction for the operators. Welcome back, Mr. Njoku. He is the River State Chairman, Chartered Institute of Bankers. Welcome on the show. It's good to have you.
Thank you, Mr. Kalada.
All right, so before the break, I asked the question. You mentioned that there is going to be 150 million naira fine on banks that go about commodifying the naira. But then again, the question is, how are they able to, commodify the naira, sell means and all of that to weddings and other party functions if the CBN is not circulating enough due to the CBN cashless policy?
Okay, the thing is this. The CBN releases cash.
Okay.
It's not a zero cash system.
Okay.
The cashless policy does not imply zero cash in the system. So the quantity that is released into the system is the use part of to engage in this illegal practice. However, it's not a normal practice. It's not acceptable. It's not an approved practice in the banking system. It is something that certain or very few individuals decided to engage in. And that is why the CBN is saying that any bank branch that is called per branch, 150 million. But for me, I think the CBN should include fiscal penalties. And that is why for the Challenge of Bankers of Nigeria, we've been saying and emphasizing the use of professionals in handling in leading bank teams in the bank. The bank operations manager, cash officers, bank branch managers or leaders, even regional heads should be compulsory. They should be made compulsory members of the Challenge of Bankers of Nigeria, so that they will threaten them that if something happens, they will be blacklisted and their professional certifications will be drawn.
Okay. All right.
In addition to whatever penalty that may come from the CBN in terms of anything that will reduce the bank or the branch's profitability. So these are the way to go. So it's not an acceptable practice. That is what everybody should know. And because of this new policy now, as you just mentioned, which is you just said it gave the audience or the listeners the true position. What the CBN wants people to do is to embrace e-channels, alternative channels to making their payments. You have your cards, you have your apps, you have the ATM. Embrace them to make your transaction, because you cannot go to any ATM, any POS operator from one particular account and take more than that, more than the recommended or prescribed limit of 100,000 naira. And no POS agent can go more than that, because there is an integrated system linking the codes of each POS operator to the NISS, Nigerian Interbank Settlement System, which there will be a report from the NISS to the central bank. Okay. And if there is any form of error, the central bank will investigate it and deal with it as appropriate.
Okay, now there is. I need to, show one problem with this in a cashless policy, and that is the fact that the technology for cashless policy is not as rife at the rural community or at the rural level, and so I'm wondering, is the CBN or even the Bankers Association looking at this financial inclusion issue? Because I'm wondering, and if you say the cashless policy does not mean zero cash, how much cash is allowed in circulation by this policy?
It's that the amount of cash to be released per time is determined by the CBN,
Okay.
and they look at the system before doing that. We have various seasons, and they look at the seasons and they take their decision. So that is it. That one is left for the CBN. So the aspect of technology, we have also been emphasizing that there should be increase in the IT investment by financial institutions in order to support the policy on of the policy of inclusion, so that nobody will say because of my location I'm unable to have access to cash. I've done some personal investigations where some people that doesn't have bank account at all, they will talk to their brothers or sisters or anybody that is in town. Please send me social amount to social POS operator. They will give the POS operator's account number to the person, and the person will pay that, and the POS operator will give the beneficiary the cash and take some charges.
All right.
It's part of supporting the system for those that doesn't have account.
Right.
Some of these POS operators, one of the objectives of agency banking is to open accounts, to manage account opening, for financial institutions, because they are agents of banks.
All right. Okay. I should mention that about 4.3 trillion naira is in circulation. That's the currency. 4.3 trillion naira worth of currency is in circulation. And I'm also aware that banks have limited transactions at ATMs to 20,000 naira. I guess all of this may just be to meet up the cashless policy goal. But then again, how are you reacting to this, you the listener? Do you have a question for my guest? What do you make of this? At first, I wanted to ask you, which would you have preferred? Are you welcoming this policy restrictions, limitations on POS operators? Would you prefer to go to the banking halls or the ATMs? But now I'm going to push the conversation a bit further and ask you, are you embracing as an individual this cashless policy? Maybe for transportation it will be a bit difficult. Maybe for buying pepper, tomatoes and onions it may be a little bit difficult. Not impossible, because if you go to the suya joint, the suya man now has a POS as well. The question then is, my goodness, are you embracing the cashless policy goal? Do you think this is a welcome idea? Let's go to the phone lines now. 0817 923 0002, 0817 923 0003, 0817 923 0007. I'll take a few calls and then we'll go back to the guest with more questions. I've got Kingsley calling from Ada George. Kingsley, welcome. What is on your mind? I'd like to hear from you.
All right. I'm at a loss, trying to understand how Nigerians having to buy their own money amounts to financial inclusion. In my own opinion, financial inclusion has to do with the fact that everybody is able to at least have a bank account and, are captured within the financial system. And not for Nigerians to be deliberately subjected to buying their own money. That is beginning to give our younger ones the POS mentality. Let me give an example.
Tell me.
I work in a school, so I was to have a class. So the teacher that I was supposed to leave for me to take my period was a business studies teacher. And I looked at the business studies textbook. I saw a POS machine drawn on the front, like picture on the textbook cover page. I was wondering how come they didn't have maybe this financial indices as a picture to connote business studies, or the cabotage environment, maybe a maritime picture, but a POS machine. That is giving our children POS mentality, making them believe that you have to buy money to be able to get your money. That does not amount to financial inclusion as far as I'm concerned. That is a deliberate policy that is meant to milk Nigerians and remit things to the
But Kingsley, I guess you didn't listen to this conversation the other time we had it. So now the money you paid to withdraw, we were told, or it was explained, for charges. The person has gone to the bank, has withdrawn this money for you. You don't have to travel all the way from that rural community to a faraway bank. And, so it's helped. The POS operators helped you, and all you have to do is just pay charges for the help. More like it.
That's a funny explanation.
Okay, all right, interesting.
How can that amount to the POS operator helping me maybe cushioning the effect of my transportation have to the bank? Okay. If we want to talk about financial inclusion, the banks should go full retail. That means they may have to have kiosks in neighborhoods where they can still perform these functions of banks, interfacing between their customers and selling their services and products. Not for every single point you go to people, as POS agents, and they are charging arbitrary fees for people to make withdrawals. That does not amount to.
All right then. All right, thank you, Kingsley. Kingsley, I've got to.
It's a dangerous trend that is now instilling POS mentality in our children,
making
them think that for you to access money, you have to part with money. This is where we've come from, coming from before the elections, how it was during the elections, that the people will have to pay 2,000 to get 10,000, having to buy money. We should look at the dangers in some of these things that we're doing, because we're not paying attention. That's part of our problem.
All right, then. All right, thank you, Kingsley. I've got Michael from Abba. Michael, welcome. What is on your mind? I'd like to hear from you.
Hello?
Yeah, Michael, welcome.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, Michael.
Yeah, I think all this problem we are having with banking, I think I put the blame on the government and the banking sector, because
Are you there, Michael?
All this cashless policy, but they were unable to continue on it, educating the public about the policies. Even we are almost adapting the cashless policy, making transfer, electronic, transactions. All of a sudden, it's like they stopped the policy, only to hear this festive period that they are trying to do this, do that, giving one excuse or the other. It's not. I think they should be very serious when they are dealing with the masses. People are starving. Businesses are being stopped because of this the lack of cash, in circulation.
All right.
So they should be very proactive and decisive whenever they are carrying out policies that have to do with people. We are not begging them for money. We work very hard for that. So we should be able to lay hands on our money at any point to solve our problems and carry out our transactions.
All right. Thank you, Michael, all the way from Abba. I've got Felix from Gokana. Felix, welcome. What is banking like in Gokana? Tell me.
I want to talk about the access process by the bank. So the day that those in the village, we have about 6 of the village.
Sorry, I didn't get you, Felix. Felix, you said those in the village, they have what? I didn't get you clearly.
The women in the village, about 16 of them, don't use account number.
Okay, they don't use account numbers. Okay.
And they are not educated.
Okay.
So, operate this cashless policy, they are trying to stop. And so, the women that went to somebody or who works to somebody in the farm, how did that person can get it? If those that have the money cannot receive the cash from the bank. So that whatever thing they are going to do with the receiver, that there are people that are not educated in this system. And this policy is good. Those are educated, not those that are not educated. So that you should make cash available to the bank, even if it's so that people can get money. If they continue like that, I would say it is wickedness.
All right then. All right.
Those that cannot be that way.
All right then. All right, Felix, thank you very much. I've got Okonkwo from Rumokuta. Okonkwo, welcome. What is on your mind? I'd like to hear.
Thank you, bro, Canada.
Welcome, Okonkwo.
Yes. This is a great platform, Nigeria Info.
All right, thank you.
Has been my platform from the beginning.
All right.
When the idea of cashless policy was first introduced by the federal government and the central bank, yes, they told us that when we go to the counter to withdraw money, that those under savings would be giving 500,000 a week, and those under current would be giving 5 million a week. I would like you, Canada, to think back, and also like our guests here, to think back, to remember that was the first policy foundation. But I want to ask you, today, are they still giving that 500,000 a week to those that under savings account? Do they still give that 5 million a week to those that are under current? That's my question.
All right. Thank you, Okon. Let's come to you now, Mr. Njoku. You were going to answer the question. Let's start with the last caller. You were talking about policy reversals. Can you expatiate on that?
Yes, and that is the position. The CBN keep fine-tuning the policies. We know the position of things. Then we had during the MFLS period when the old Naira note was to give way for new Naira note. And when the new government came on board, some of those policies were reversed. So it's something that is common knowledge that those policies, from time to time are fine-tuned, based on the economic situation of our country. So that is it.
Okay.
Mr. Kalada, in addition to this, I want to just clearly say it. Today, you go to the remote villages, you see old women, 70 years, 70-something years, 80 years, they have telephone.
Okay.
Their children abroad, even in town, call them from time to time, and they're able to pick.
All right.
When this telephone was introduced, people were saying that how would people in the village use them? It's a matter of orientation. It's a matter of change of mind. There is nothing hard. Yes, we know that the literacy level is financial literacy level is low in Nigeria. But if we change our mind, we can embrace it. We can embrace it because of the consequences of cash. And that is what the CBN is trying to do. If you go to Western world, nobody will be asking to withdraw $100,000 at a time. But in Nigeria, $50,000, $100,000, nobody cares.
All right.
People just want to put it in their pockets and walk away.
All right.
They can't do that in the Western world. So the thing is that we should try to modify our thinking with regards to cash. The quest for cash is not wickedness. The restriction on cash is not wickedness. But we should try to expand, our frontier for transaction execution.
Okay.
Raise other channels, and the people that are managing the system, both the central bank, the NIMS, the commercial banks, and other financial institutions should invest more on these platforms so that there will be stability. There wouldn't be anything like network failure or people's money hanging and all those excuses. If we get it that way, then I think the policy is a good one, to go with.
Quickly, our time is fast spent. So quickly, I want to throw one more question at you. And it is we going to the conversation with the first caller, Kingsley Matter Judge, talking about agent and merchant. How do we differentiate that? Because he's saying, financial inclusivity does not necessarily mean having people scattered or littered all across the country, selling and buying money. That's how he says it. But I think, there's a difference, right, between agents and merchants. Can you help us understand?
There are two distinct concepts.
Okay.
Let me put it in a simpler way so that people answer their questions. Agent banking is